Lifestyles. I'm JaneE King, host of the show. Welcome. And monitor is not on. So anyway, today is Thursday, November 13, 2014. Welcome and thanks for joining us today on this beautiful November day in downtown Manchester, New Hampshire. And a good shout out to Manchester TV for this lovely studio and the ability to come to you live downtown Manchester. I wanted to just do a quick shout out also about my meeting of this lovely lady yesterday and a couple weeks ago, Bernice Endy, who is also known as Lady Long Rider. She's been riding around the United States on horseback since 2005, and she's here in New Hampshire for a few days, riding back through New York. And I got a chance to meet with her last night. She had a talk in Sunapee at the Methodist Church, and it was such a beautiful evening. About 60 people came, and she's riding her horses around the country. So a shout out to Bernice. Hi, Bernice, and hope all is going well with you. And today, my special guest is a singer-songwriter artist named David Young. Welcome, David Young.
Thank you. Nice to be here, Jane.
Yeah, thanks for joining us today. All the way driving up the coast last night to arrive here on time. And that was David's music. That was your music you were playing in the background.
It was me.
To open the show.
It was me opening the show.
That was you, live. It's all live. Yay! What's gong was my gong. I forgot to gong. My singing bowl. It's a sacred singing bowl, so I shouldn't call it a gong because it's actually 7 metals Tibetan bowl.
Beautiful. Love that sound.
Thank you.
I've used that on a lot of my CDs, singing bowls.
Great.
Actually, one of my CDs has singing bowls in the whole CD. It's called Peace for Now.
Peace for Now. Do you have it with you?
Peace for Now. I don't, but it's on my catalog. It's the one on the bottom, and it's the green one.
Okay.
It's one of my
Probably
meditation
can't see that
CDs.
A meditation CD. Excellent.
Yeah. I've recorded 55 different CDs of music.
55 CDs.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of recording and fun, I imagine.
I enjoy it, absolutely. I've tried not to repeat myself and just do unique things, like using different musicians to play with me with different sounds, you know. I have 5 different Christmas albums, about 15 CDs with songs from the 60s and 70s, but my meditation music is the most popular music right now. It's interesting, 15, 20 years ago I used to sell more of the love songs, but spirituality and meditation has gotten so popular over the last 5-7 years that I sell much more of the spiritual music, and that's great.
Cool. That is great. So you can go with the genre, go with the flow with what you do, kind of.
I do. I kind of play it by ear.
Play it by literally play it by ear.
I do.
So can you tell us about your instruments?
Yeah, these are called recorders. Everybody starts to play these in 3rd or 4th grade, and I'm definitely the pride and joy of my 3rd grade music teacher. Yeah, Mr. Mendelssohn. Yeah. It's a cool name, Mendelssohn.
Mendelssohn, yeah, Mendelssohn Choir. Mendelssohn, is he a composer?
I don't know if he was a composer. My school teacher or the original?
No, the original
Mendelssohn. The original guy. I don't know anything about him. Not a thing.
Not a thing.
I know that was my music teacher's name. I think he made Baroque music.
Okay.
So I grew up playing Baroque music, like
nice. Came pretty good at it, obviously.
Well, after 45 years, if I'm not good at it, it would be something really wrong, you know. But I started to play a little bit more energetic music when I was in high school, and I started listening to this group called Jethro Tull. Remember Jethro Tull?
Oh, yeah. Aqualung.
Yeah.
Wow. I want to hear that whole song now. Nice. That's right, Ian Anderson.
Yeah, he was my idol when I was in high school. And then I started to play guitar in high school, and when I played guitar, I was into Led Zeppelin, Bad Company, AC/DC, and I ended up joining an AC/DC tribute band in upstate New York. Originally, the band was called Out of Control, which was pretty appropriate for our lifestyle. And then we changed our name to QT Hush, and between 1980 and 1982, we toured all over New England under that name.
Wow, so some people out there might remember you.
I'm sure anybody who is between 50 and 65 would have seen us because we were one of the most popular bands. And we used to play in Manchester at a place called The Place. It was the place
Wow.
to play.
And where in Manchester was that? Do you remember?
It was in Manchester. I don't know.
Somewhere around here.
Yeah. And we used to sell that place out. It was really
Cool.
a great thing.
Nice.
And so I used to dress up like Angus Young from AC/DC with the blue shorts and the hat and the suit.
Oh,
you know,
wow.
AC/DC, the guys.
I wasn't really into AC/DC back then, or ever, for that matter.
Forever. Well, I loved them actually.
I guess you did. That's
I
great.
loved spiritual music like Pink Floyd,
Yeah.
but AC/DC was fun. And if you had to do a tribute band of any group, I think the most fun band you could choose would be AC/DC, just
Okay.
because their music was always upbeat,
Uh-huh.
and it was
Maybe
like
I liked it and didn't know it was them.
it's possible. It's possible. And then after doing that for 2 years, I moved to California. I ran out of money, and I started playing these flutes at Venice Beach.
Mm-hmm.
I used to wear this white puffy shirt on Venice Beach every weekend, and the writers from Sign.
Why a white puffy shirt?
Funny you should ask. Well, on the second day that we were playing there, I had a partner named Lisa. She played the harp. And we made these CDs on the top. I don't know if you can show it. The CD's called Celestial Winds.
Okay.
There's a couple of them over there. We made these hand-colored tapes. We didn't have the money for a photographer or anything fancy like color printing.
Right. Yeah. Back in when, 80s, you said?
Yeah, that was in the 90s. In the
Okay.
90s. In the 80s, it was the AC/DC tribute band. In the 90s, I went to California, started to play with this woman named Lisa, who played the harp. And on the second day we were there playing together, she had gone to this place where all the rock musicians buy all their cool clothes from. It's called Salvation Army. I think you guys have some around here, right?
What a cool place, Jeff.
Yeah, you never know what
Goodwill, Salvation Army, same thing.
you never know what you're going to find at Salvation
No.
Army. And she found this white puffy shirt, ruffled in the front. It was so feminine, and it was so out of context of everything. But I had long hair. I used to wear these sunglasses, hoping that my friends wouldn't recognize me, you know. And
Playing at Venice Beach with a harpist and his puffy shirt.
yeah, it was incredible. And we sold 10,000 copies of these tapes over a 2-year period under the name Celestial Winds.
Wow.
And the writers from Seinfeld used to come down there all the time because that was the place everybody went. There wasn't a gang problem there at that time in Los Angeles, and it was safe, and it was wonderful. So we played there. I used to wear the puffy shirt all the time. And the puffy shirt kind of brought me good luck because, you know, it gave me an image, and I was the only guy who was on the beach actually playing 2 flutes at one time.
Oh,
I'll show you how I do that.
okay. Very nice.
Do you want to try?
I'd love to, but I don't. I would really look foolish. And I never learned to play the recorder when I was in school. It wasn't the thing. So wow.
Well, I was the worst in my class in 3rd grade. I was the worst in my class. But my first, well, I don't want to say it's the first miracle of my life because I used to get hurt all the time when I was a little kid.
Oh, really?
I fell out of a tree and I landed on an axe that cut my stomach like
Ow.
almost in half. I got hit by an arrow once that summer that hit me over here, bounced off my head. But the first miracle that didn't involve me almost getting killed, was the fact that after my first year of playing the recorder in school, where I was the worst in my class, they offered us a second year in the recorder because they said there was extra money in the school system. So they asked us if we wanted to have a second year of it, and we said, I don't know, what do you think? And so we had a second year of it, and during the second year of it, that's when I started to get the hang of it.
Cool. And liking it, obviously.
Yeah.
And kept on going with it.
Yep. Until high school, and then I wanted to play rock music, and
Yeah,
I
then
started
you
playing.
played guitar. And, Yeah.
But, you know, it's kind of interesting because this flute music that I make, there's over 10,000 spas, massage therapists, healing centers, hospitals. John Hopkins Medical Center has whole floors that only play my music because they feel like it's the most
that's
healing
gone
music
to
on the
that.
planet.
Wow.
Ding, ding.
I'm not going into good hair. Wow. 10,000 places are playing your music?
Every day.
Every day.
So if 50
because it's
people...
so healing. Wow.
If 50 people go into each one of those 10,000 places every day and listen to my music while they're getting a massage or an acupuncture treatment or something, that means 500,000 people a day are listening to me, listening to my music.
And that's a minimum. That's probably a lot more. Because I've heard that everybody loves massage. Those people that you just mentioned all love your music because it is so soothing. And it feels like the vibration of it and the tone of it and the key that you play in probably is all on the level of healing that we're all looking for.
Well, I put a lot of love into it also, so
Yeah, okay.
that adds, you
That
know.
certainly does. That's a very important piece, probably the most important piece, to have your love being playing into the music. So
So now I've sold over 1 million CDs.
over 1 million CDs. Let's have another gong for 1 million CDs. He sold 1 million CDs. Wow. Can you imagine? How long did it take you to do that?
I reached that million point about 6 or 7 years ago.
Wow, cool.
So I don't, you don't count these things anymore.
So can people
you know?
buy them online or how to?
Yeah, my website is davidyoungmusic.com.
Okay. davidyoungmusic.com.
Yeah, David Lung is somebody else. I don't know what he is. He's in the heart business or
Right.
medical something.
Or the lung business.
Lung business.
I was going to ask you, are you related to Neil?
No, I'm not.
Oh, you've probably been asked that a lot, though,
I have.
because you have some similarities in your...
Are you related to Martin Luther or... No?
I don't think so, no. This is my
Cool
married
guy.
name.
Oh, is it? Well, you never know.
Right. You never know. That's true. That's true. When people haven't seen me before, they think that I'm related. I mean, if someone calls me up and hasn't seen my face. So it is interesting.
Yeah, it's wonderful what a difference that he made in the world, really believing that we're all equal and we all have a voice.
He made a huge difference in the world. Martin Luther King, John Kennedy, Robert Kennedy, all the people that marched with Martin Luther King in Selma, Alabama, and Washington, D.C., and we're still marching to his legacy because we still don't have equality in this country. But he made an amazing difference, and
It's a lot better than it was before him,
a
though.
lot better. Yeah, a lot better.
Yeah, one person can really make a difference.
One person can make a huge difference. One person can make a difference. You can make a difference. I can make a difference. You can make a difference. Yes, we can, and it is shown day after day after day. And who said that? Margaret Mead said something to that effect. I forget her exact quote, but one person, that's all it takes to start the ball rolling and get people behind you.
Sometimes if you see somebody who's not having a good day on the street and you just smile at that person and give that person some love,
Yep.
I mean, that can make a big difference in that person's day,
It can, absolutely, and it'll make a difference in your day as well, because when you see another person smile, it's down. It kind of it reflects back, and it starts a cycle, and it helps you to expand, and them there to expand, and yeah, it's the whole vibration changes and shifts, and that's what healing's all about. And it was, I think it was Norman Cousins that healed himself of some, I forget what life-threatening disease he had, but he got into laughter, laughter therapy. He spent his time in the hospital watching funny movies and laughing and laughing and laughing, and so smiling is one step toward laughing.
That's right. Laughing is good.
Laughing is good. And your music makes people smile, even if they're laying on a massage table or having some other type of alternative treatment or any kind of treatment, even a hospital treatment. And that's really what we need in hospitals more, and all healing facilities, is really healing music. It really does make a difference because you're bringing the vibration up an octave or a level that it facilitates the vibration of healing, don't you think?
Absolutely. Music creates a vibration. Like when you hit that thing, when you hit the bell, you can hear that vibrating over here. You can feel it on the table.
Right.
And so that vibration connects. People can hear it. You know, when I'm playing the two flutes at one time, it actually creates a third sound. So that's a vibration that's unique to my music. Some people think that's part of the reason why it is so healing, because of that vibration. And, you know, life communicates with us through vibration, through inner sound, you know, through the inner light. It's all vibration in one frequency or another.
It is. That's true. We're all vibration.
And, you know, through my career, I mean, it might look like everything has been just perfect and amazing, but I've had incredible difficulties that I've had to work through. Besides having high points like playing for Paul McCartney and being nominated for a Grammy a couple of times and all the cool things that I've done. But I've had, it was really unique because about 5 years ago, it was like everything hit at once. I had a 9-year relationship that was ending 9 days before our anniversary.
Ooh.
And I was losing 2 kids in that whole thing. I had a $1 million mansion that was going into foreclosure. It just seemed like everything was hitting me at once. And I really didn't know how I was going to live through it. And I decided that I better move from Minneapolis, where I was living at the time. I lived in Minneapolis for 9 years and Los Angeles for 9 years before that. And I decided that I had to move from Minneapolis back to the East Coast. And I really didn't want to move back to the East Coast because I loved living there. But because I do 40 shows a year, traveling all over the country, doing healing conventions, spa conventions, all different kinds of shows, art shows, you know. It was necessary. And so as I was driving across the country, I was really heartbroken and I was really in pieces. And so inwardly I said to God, pick me something that's going to make me feel better. It's going to help me, you know. And I had this stack of CDs on the passenger seat of my car. And I reached over to get one just randomly because they were not in cases.
I see.
And so this random CD that I picked up was Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. And I thought, well, that really isn't appropriate right now to how I feel, you know. I had been given that as a gift for a birthday because I really wasn't a big Beatles fan because I was into hard rock, like Led Zeppelin and AC/DC. And the Beatles were before that, you know, in the 60s. And I was more into the mid-70s hard rock. And when I put that CD on, as I was listening to it, the 8th song came, and it was George Harrison's song called Within You, Without You. It starts with sitars and all these Indian instruments. It was really the first song of its kind to come out in 1967 when that album came out. And that was like, it was like almost like a new age song with Indian instruments and all positive lyrics. And there was something about that song that just brought me this peace and this comfort. And so I hit repeat. And when it was over, I hit repeat again, and I found that for the following 3 weeks, I listened to that song for 2 or 3 hours a day, not knowing why I was listening to it.
Interesting.
All I knew is that it made me feel better. You know, my music was making other people feel better, and there was something about this that was making me feel better. And after this 3 weeks, I arrived in New York, and I went to see a friend who I used to give guitar lessons to when I was in high school. He was in junior high school. He takes me to his best friend's house, and sitting on his television set is a DVD of the concert for Bangladesh.
Ooh.
That was the concert that George put on.
That's right.
Doesn't that deserve a bell?
It does.
Okay.
The concert for Bangladesh. Ooh. So we can breathe to that.
And because I knew so
Bangladesh.
because I knew so little about George Harrison, I asked my friend if we could watch it. All I knew was that he was one of the Beatles, he was friends with Eric Clapton, and he had something to do with that concert.
He was a very sweet person and very quiet, and he was really the backbones of the Beatles, and we didn't know that till after he I didn't know it, actually. I was a Beatles fan, and I didn't know it till after he was, probably after he died, that how his licks and all of his lead guitar were really the backbone of the Beatles, pushing their power of their songs. I always thought it was Lennon and McCartney because they wrote them all, but really it was George that came up with a lot of that music and wasn't ever given credit for it.
Well,
that's my take on it anyway.
I think let's go into that after I tell a little bit more of the story, because in a way, the kind of person that George is, he's such a supportive person. You know, and he is like the opposite of me. You know,
Yes.
he's like, you couldn't have a more supportive, like, right-hand man in a way, you know.
So I guess
And
that's what he was in the Beatles. He was their right-hand man.
I think he was really great at not competing for the spotlight,
Right.
you know, and, you know, being comfortable supporting his two buddies, John and Paul. You know, and when you watch the way, like, if you watch any of those old Beatles videos, I mean, John and Paul did most of the singing together.
Right.
And whenever they needed George, then he sang.
Right.
If they didn't need
Kinda
him to
like harmony.
sing, you know, he was just a great team player. And it's been a unique experience for me because I've always been a solo artist. You know, when you're a solo artist, you don't really share the spotlight.
No.
You know, because
That's what solo means.
you're in
You're
the
all by yourself.
spotlight. You know, so back to my friend's house. So we watched the video of the concert for Bangladesh, and the very next day, for the first time in 20 years of doing 40 shows a year, 40 weekends in different cities.
It's a lot.
That's a lot. I had decided to carpool with a guy who I'd never carpooled with. It was just a bizarre situation that was set up. And I went along with it. And I got to his house, and he had a white van. And we put my CDs, my flutes, and my clothes and my sound system in the back of his white van.
Yep.
And I sat down in the front seat of his van. And sitting on the dashboard right in front of me was a cassette tape of the concert for Bangladesh. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you just got the chills, it's not your air conditioner.
I did.
I did a little, you know, sometimes I actually get the chills from my own story. That's hilarious.
Oh,
But
wow.
and so I was a little freaked out. That was the first thing that
You were
happened.
freaked out. What did you do? I mean,
I said to-
like, maybe I shouldn't be going with this guy, or what? I mean,
No, I said, what the heck is that doing here? Really? Because just the day before, the DVD showed up at this guy's house I hadn't seen in 30 years,
That's right.
you know.
2
So-
days. The DVD shows up, the movie, and then
The cassette tape.
the cassette tape of the soundtrack.
And I wasn't smiling. I didn't think this was funny. I'm like, this is the weirdest thing I've ever heard of, you know.
Yeah.
At that point, I had been meditating for 27 years. And it's
Really?
important to know that when I was 22, because this started when I was 49, when I was 22, I got into meditation, spirituality, and I didn't have a beer, a glass of wine, nothing. All of this time.
Wow.
And so I asked this guy, what the heck is this doing here? And he said, I went to the concert for Bangladesh.
Wow.
Really?
More chills.
I bought 2 tickets, he said, for $3.50 each. And the 2 ticket stubs and this tape have been in a box in my attic since 30 years ago. And I just took the tape out this morning to listen to on the ride down. Yeah, if you got the chills again, it's still not your air
Whoa.
conditioner. So that's when this whole thing started in 2010. And it's never stopped. And,
What whole thing?
well, this whole thing is called Channeling Harrison.
Kind of have to hold it more. Maybe.
Is this,
There you go.
where should I put it?
Yeah, that's a little better.
Is that better?
Uh-huh.
Okay. And last year,
Channeling Harrison.
and you have to know that I didn't believe in channeling. And I was afraid of ghosts. So I really thought, being that I wasn't a big Beatles fan, you know, well, why in the world would George want to have anything to do with me for those 3 reasons? And I was in the dark with this thing for 3 years. It's a long time to be in the dark with these things happening all the time. And you've had mediums on your show and psychics on your shows, and
Yeah.
a lot of times, you know, these things start happening in your life, and you're wondering, really? Is it me
Yeah.
you want to talk to? You know, there's got to be somebody else here you're interested in, you know?
Right, it can't be me.
Mm-hmm.
And so this was right after your breakup. You came to New York or East Coast, and
Yep.
this was right after you
Yeah, so I
listened to
ended,
the Sgt. Pepper's on the way back.
right? It's all connected. And so right after that, nothing happened for a couple of months. And every once in a while, I would think about it. Man, wasn't that weird? Bam, those 2 things happened in the 24-hour period,
Right.
but nothing. 3 months went by.
Okay.
My friend introduces me to this woman who was not my typical style of woman, you know, the look
Right.
of a woman. You know, we all have a type. You know,
I guess, yeah.
We're type that we're attracted to. You know, she was 2 inches taller than me. I like blondes with blue eyes, sweetie, and she had dark hair, dark eyes. I mean, she was not the typical person that I was normally attracted to. And on my third date with her, she asked me what the highlight of my career was. I said it was when Paul McCartney started a standing ovation for me. And she said, well, did you know that George Harrison used to babysit me? Now, we were in a coffee shop.
Wow.
I couldn't jump up and scream because I don't want to scare the people sitting next to me, you know? So I said,
wow, well, we can stand and scream now. George George
Right.
Harrison used to babysit her?
yeah. So
my
I said, well,
gosh.
do you want to explain that to me? Tell me a little bit about that. You know, I'm about ready to fall off my chair, but I'm trying to play it cool because it's only our third date, you know. She said my mom and George went to the same yoga ashram in Tucson, Arizona. Remember the Beatles had that song? Jojo left his home
Yep,
in Tucson, Arizona.
Arizona.
That's where the Beatles used to
I
vacation.
never knew that.
Now you know.
Cool.
And so
And so he used to be there, and she was a kid when she was a kid.
her mom and her dad split up.
Mm-hmm.
She and George started to date. A couple of months later, they fell in love, and George moved her and her mom to England, and she grew up in his castle.
Wow.
That's what
So
I said.
that was her mother that George married?
She didn't marry George.
Okay.
A certain amount of time went by, and then they split up, and then they moved back to the States. But, you know, George used to babysit her when she was a little girl. You know.
So there's another little connection going on here.
You think?
Huh?
Yeah. And then it was very bizarre because I had been working on this song. You know, besides being a recorder player, even though that's what I'm known for, I've been a singer and a songwriter my whole life. And I had been working on this song that I just couldn't come up with music for this song. I had these words that were beautiful words. The poetry was, I wish I really knew what life was all about, why some people have so much and others live without. And if I ever understand all the struggles I've been through, then maybe I'll understand why I'm still missing you. I wish I really knew why this world had so much pain, and why we live and why we die and do it all again. And if I ever understand all the struggles I've been through, then maybe I'll understand why I'm still missing you. So those words sat on this piece of paper on my nightstand for about 10 days. Every morning I'd get up and look at them, get a little frustrated, and then I'd leave. You know, try to write something with it, nothing would happen. You know, every night I'd come home, I'd look at those words, nothing would come with it. And it was really, it had my attention. You know, because if I wanted to write something, it usually just came right out, you know. And then I wake up in the middle of the night, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and I get this nudge. You know the nudge? You guys know the nudge.
The nudge. What's gone to the nudge?
Yeah, to the nudge.
The nudge. Whoa. You guys know that nudge, right? It's a kind of thing, a nudge.
And the nudge was pick up that piece of paper with those words on it.
Oh, that was the nudge.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I pick up the words, I sit in my bed, I'm reading it, I grab my guitar, I try to write something, nothing comes. I'm looking at these words, and it's absolute silence in my bedroom. I'm living in the suburbs, there's no cars driving by. And I literally said out loud, how in the world is the music supposed to go for these lyrics? And at that exact moment,
Gong.
the spirit appeared in my room and played guitar for me.
A what?
About 5 feet off to
spirit?
the right. A spirit. And thank God I couldn't see it clearly because it would have scared me and I would have stopped the whole thing right there. But he
A
played.
spirit appeared in his room and played the music for you?
Now, have you ever had a spirit play guitar for you in your room?
I can't say that I have, no.
How about you in TV land?
Whoa.
And this spirit played me this music.
What did a spirit look like?
Well, I just saw a little bit of a shadow, but the sound that was coming out of the spirit was very recognizable. The spirit played guitar
Wow.
and played this piece twice.
With your lyrics. So put your lyrics just to music?
So I heard the sound coming from the spirit. It was the first time I'd ever experienced this.
Wow.
I played it for me twice. I picked up my guitar. I played it. I learned what he just showed me.
Uh-huh.
And I realized that those words on the paper went perfect with this music.
Wow.
And so I thought that was pretty cool.
Pretty cool. The
The-
spirit was writing this music, the song
So
music for your lyrics.
So I had a clue.
You had a clue.
A clue. This spirit
There's a
played
clue.
guitar.
Right. Played very well. So a
Well,
spirit
yeah.
that plays guitar, huh?
So the next day, I'm in a recording studio.
Yeah.
I'm recording this song that I just wrote because the words they were done. Mm-hmm. The whole thing came together. Mm-hmm. I call up the studio in the morning. The guy says, come in, I don't know if it was 10:30 or 11 o'clock. I went in there, put the headphones on, had my guitar on, and the first thing you do is you do the guide track, which means you play the rhythm guitar from the beginning to the end. I'm in the middle of playing this song, got the headphones on, there's a little drum beat going on in my headphones, and I have this thought while I'm playing, and the thought is, this sounds just like something George Harrison would have played, because it didn't sound like my music.
Oh,
It
cool.
sounded different.
Another George Harrison
And so
clue.
right as I have that thought, when that thought goes through my mind, at that exact moment, this light appeared in the room next to me. Now, this light was about the size of the world over here.
Okay.
It was about 3 feet in circumference. It was blue, and it was sparkling, and it was amazing.
Wow.
And it hovered over me for 6 seconds.
6, not 7.
Not
5.
7. 6 seconds, and I have to tell you, 6 seconds in something like that,
Is a long
it feels like a long time. It wasn't like a little flash of light that went like this.
Right.
It was this big, beautiful, incredible thing. Now, I had been meditating for 27 years at that point.
Right.
I never saw anything like that or experienced anything like that.
Wow.
And so these experiences have continued ever since, and that's what my whole book is about.
Your experiences of the blue light or the spirits coming in playing guitar and
And finally understanding, you see, for 27 years I started every day with this meditation. I declare myself a channel for the Great Spirit. May everything that I think and say and feel and represent be in the name of the Great Spirit.
wow.
So I wasn't thinking about like the Great Spirit of George Harrison. I was really just thinking about the Great Spirit of the universe.
Yeah.
You know, but
So every morning for 27 years, you started your meditation with that mantra
yeah,
or prayer.
and every time I would
Wow.
make one of my CDs, you know, I would start it with that prayer also. You know,
Wow.
I'm a good guy.
How cool is that? You are. He's a good guy. Take a breath. He's a good guy, believe it or not, because he's been meditating 27 years and saying that amazing
Yeah.
prayer.
Well,
And
now
that's
it's
kind of-
longer than 27 years because that
Oh,
was 4
that
years
was-
ago.
Okay, so you're up to 30-something.
31, yeah.
31 years. Wow.
So
So
a
it's a
very
big-
unique thing happened. She and I dated for 2 months, and it didn't work out.
This is the dark-haired girl with
The
the dark
dark-haired girl,
eyes.
yeah.
And, yeah.
And then I had this dream. It was very bizarre. I had this dream that this woman flew into my dream. There was a flood in my house, in my dream. And she dives in the water on the other side of the house, swims across to me like with bubbles coming out of her mouth with this loving look in her eyes, you know. She comes right at me, kisses me on the lips, and disappears.
Wow.
Wow. Right? And then I was meditating. And in my meditation, in my third eye, while my eyes are closed, the same woman flies into my meditation, kisses me on the lips, and disappears.
At the like right away. That's right after that.
Now, that was the first time a woman ever did that to me. Have you ever had that happen to you? No?
I can't say that I have. Go on.
What a team. So,
Team. We're the gong team.
so
Well,
I,
those are two pretty amazing dreams. That this woman's floating in and kissing you on lips
Right.
and disappearing. So you must have a magic
and it
kiss.
was a good
that goes-
kiss.
Oh, yeah,
It was a good one.
Oh,
you
was
know?
it?
Yeah.
He's a good kisser too.
So a couple of weeks later after these dreams, I decided to move to Florida.
Florida. What's in Florida? A blonde.
A lot of art shows.
Okay.
Because I made a living, you know, playing at art festivals in the winter. I went down to Florida.
Okay.
And I became part of this Facebook page of all people who grew up in Brooklyn, where I grew up. We're all part of this page because I was from the part of Brooklyn called Canarsie. And so I connect with this woman through this Facebook page, and she used to live a block away from where I lived. Because,
Go figure.
you know, everybody from Brooklyn went to this part of Florida where I was at for some reason. I mean, it was like
You go to Brooklyn,
migration.
you go down to what part of Florida was this?
It was migration. Like, you know,
Marathon,
like
Florida? Migration to Marathon?
I was actually in Aventura, Florida. It's in between
Aventura.
Miami and Fort Lauderdale.
Okay, Aventura.
And so we went on a date. On our second date, we went down to the beach. And when we were swimming in the water, I realized she was the woman who swam across me.
My
in
God, you met the woman in real life?
a double
Double whammy.
double ding.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you meet the girl in your dream
It was incredible.
in Miami or
Incredible.
wherever on to Florida?
Now, this woman used to paint.
And what did she do while you were swimming in the water? Maybe did she swim toward you and give you a kiss?
Well, that's when I realized it was the same woman. She grew up in South America by the ocean, so she loved to swim, and so that was the whole thing.
I
So
see.
she loved to paint,
Okay.
right? And there was a painting, you know, we moved in together after a while, and there was a painting under the bed in the spare bedroom, and I had this knowingness. Something was going to happen with this painting. It was 6 gray triangles. Well, like 6 gray triangles. And about 4 or 5 months went by, and I got this nudge, I should make a painting. Okay?
So
This
you weren't
is-
painting before that, or you were?
No, I'd never painted in my life. I couldn't draw. I would never think of making a painting.
Wow. But you
Okay.
were going down. You weren't. So this is before you were going to art shows, or
I was playing music at art shows.
oh, playing music at art shows. That's why.
I was never good at drawing.
never doing the art itself.
No way. Like, don't make me
But
do a
now-
stick figure.
Now
You know?
someone's nudging you somewhere.
Yeah,
how-
somebody's
somehow.
nudging me to make this painting.
Okay.
So I work on this painting for 10 hours.
Now
And,
there's a marathon, 10 hours of painting.
That's
And
right.
you're not a painter.
and maybe we could get our technical assistant to put the picture. There's a picture that he has that's in the top left corner, Mr. John. And so I decided to make this painting. And the painting has 4 colors. I add burgundy and brown and gold to the painting. And after 10 hours, that's the one, the painting on the left side of your screen. Now, my painting is in the top left corner.
I see on the wall behind
On the
that.
wall,
That's
right.
you that's you there.
It looks like it's me, but that's George Harrison at the concert for Bangladesh.
That's George Harrison?
That's George, and I painted the same design of his jacket, folks.
Oh my gosh.
You want the bottom of this?
Well, we're not ready for the bottom of it yet. Okay, so if you want to go back to the top, okay. Or don't go back to the top. You can just keep it on.
There it is.
Okay. And so
Thank you, John.
I realized that there's really, really something going on here with me and George.
So you painted the design in George Harrison's jacket that
It was his favorite
his
jacket.
favorite jacket from the concert of Bangladesh.
He wore that at the after party of the concert for Bangladesh.
And what's it made out of?
It's made out of some kind of fabric. Thank you. I don't know.
I
what
mean, it looks like I don't know, something from India that
Well, he loved the whole Indian culture.
like silk or wool or I don't know, something llama. I don't know what they have over in India.
I don't know. I haven't asked that question yet, but it'll
Okay,
give
I don't
me.
know. Somebody asked me to ask that question. Yeah,
Okay.
if it comes through.
You never know where these things come from, right? And so after I made that painting, you know, people who had thought that I might be losing it, you know, like this kind
People
of thing.
thought you might be losing it?
Well, I mean, it's not common to talk about experiences with somebody who isn't alive physically anymore.
Oh, I see. Because you were talking to George.
Well, not that I was talking to George, but these things kept happening in my life.
Okay, you thought that was bizarre.
Yeah, and I didn't believe in channeling, and I was afraid of ghosts, but here I have these things. How could you talk yourself out of that?
That's right, Bangladesh concert, and then
All those
then the
things.
tape of Bangladesh.
Oh.
And now you're doing the artwork on George's jacket and not even knowing it.
Right.
That
So
is
that's what this
pretty-
book is full of.
Wow.
Every page on the
Yeah.
book is all about these kind of stories.
Sharon
And
Harris.
so this went on. Oh, so what happened right after this is that one of my friends comes to a party at the house. I show her the painting, and I show her this picture of George's jacket that I find out that,
Yeah, you're doing
know.
the artwork that was on his jacket.
and she says, this is the most incredible story I've ever heard. I have a friend in Los Angeles who takes books and makes them into movies. I'll talk to him about you. So she writes up a synopsis, sends it to the guy. The guy calls her back, says, I want to meet with David Young. So I go into Priceline and I buy a ticket to fly to Los Angeles for 2 weeks later. That night, I have a dream with George. Now, I have to tell you, at this point, any of the dreams I had with George, he was very serious. I mean, he never smiled.
You dreamt him in your dreams.
Yeah, he came into my meditation at different points. He came into my dreams, but he never smiled. I couldn't even make a face as serious as his face because it was like so serious. And I'm like, what could be so serious, you know? But this is my first dream with him where he's actually smiling.
Ah. So was he animated in the dreams, talking to you?
He tells me he likes to play tennis with soft grass behind him.
Play tennis with soft grass behind him?
Yeah, you heard me right. And I said, I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, this thing has been going on for a year at this point, and that's the first thing you're going to say to me? Really?
Yeah, what is
so I said, what do you mean? He said, I like to play tennis with soft grass behind me. He bursts out laughing, disappears right in front of me.
Well, let's go to the disappearing George after he finally...
So 2 weeks later, I go to the airport to fly to Los Angeles to meet with this agent guy. And it was September 2011. It was the 10-year anniversary of when George had crossed over, when he had gone to the next dimension, when his physical body stopped working and he was just in his pure spirit self.
Okay.
And Rolling Stone made a magazine dedicated to George's life. And in that magazine is a picture of George playing tennis with the grass behind him. That came out 2 weeks after he told me that in the dream.
I'm getting chills
Yes,
again.
folks, it's your air conditioner this time. And John, if you want to put that picture on the screen.
There it is.
Yep, it's in the bottom left corner of your screen. Now, you know my name is David Young. You've been looking at these pictures over here with my name on it.
David
I have
Young.
a nickname.
Oh.
My nickname is David Forever Young. There just happens to be only 2 words on that whole page that are in bold under the picture of George playing tennis. Those 2 words are Forever Young.
There it is. Forever Young. Oh, my God. You gotta be kidding me. Well, that deserves another gong. Oh, my gosh.
So this went on for 3 years, and the
This
experience...
being his coming into your
Yep.
meditations and channeling him.
I'd never go to a channeler because I didn't believe in channeling.
Right. But
You
here
know?
he was coming into your life, into your mind, or however.
Oh, yeah.
So he came into your mind screen, or how did you experience George Harrison coming through you, channeling? What is that like for you?
Well, I didn't really know what it was like because I really wasn't sure. These things were just happening in my life.
So these, like we'd call them coincidences that, you got
Synchronicities?
Synchronicities, rather, yeah.
Sometimes you can call them miracles.
Sometimes you can. Miracles. It is.
And I just kept track of all of them, and I, just in case any time something would happen where a book could possibly come out of this, just because, these experiences, they all connected to George.
Mm-hmm.
I never had a clue that John Lennon was involved in this.
John Lennon?
Yeah, he was the other guy in the Beatles. Remember him?
That's right. I remember John, Paul, George, and Ringo.
Dingo. And
This is fun. This is really a lot of fun because I'm a Beatlemaniac person from the way back in the Ed Sullivan Show. When I was a kid, I remember sitting on the edge of the couch with my family and my father moaning and groaning that we had to watch Ed Sullivan because the Beatles were on. And I think I bought their first single. I forget, She Loves You, way back then. And I have every one of their albums. I think I still have them, Sgt. Pepper. And
yeah, they had a couple of good songs.
So I know a little bit about them.
And honestly, if God would have told me that John Lennon was George's partner in this, I wouldn't have believed God.
What do you mean he was George's partner in this? So God told you this?
No, I'm saying if God would have told me.
If God would have told you, but
if God would have come down right in front of me and said, John is George's partner in all this, I wouldn't have believed it. Now, I moved, after living in Florida for that year, with the woman who I knew, from my childhood.
Right.
I moved back up to New Jersey just because it just felt like it was I had to go there. I didn't really know what else to do. I'd had like everything financially you could ever dream of having after selling a million CDs. And there were lots of people who loved me all over the world, but I really, I didn't know what I should do next. So I moved back up as a temporary thing to New Jersey where my mom was living. She had a spare bedroom with a spare bathroom. It was in a place called Winston Towers. And while I was in Winston Towers, I decided to make a painting because after that first painting, I became a painter.
I see.
I made 30 paintings, and I started to sell my paintings at art festivals and sell reproductions and everything.
Right.
And so I had made a picture, a painting of John Lennon with the words from All You Need Is Love in the background around the picture. And I sold it. And so I wanted to make another painting that had John Lennon's face in it. And so I decided to write Imagine across the top, and you may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one, underneath. And I was going to paint John's face in the middle of it.
Okay.
But I didn't have any pictures of John Lennon, so I went on to Google and I did a search, and I found out that John's middle name is Winston. His name is John Winston Lennon. I'm living in Winston Towers on Winston Drive.
Wow.
But I still didn't put it together. All these things, there were little things, like the thing with George I was able to put together. But the things with John, I wasn't making that connection.
This is sort of bringing me back to Abbey Road.
Why is
And
that?
if you look at the Abbey Road album cover, they're walking across the road, and there was something, or maybe it's the White Album, where if you played it number 9 backwards, it said Paul is dead. You know, this whole mystery, all the mysteries they tried to
I
put
asked
in.
them about that. That was just phony
you
baloney.
did?
Yeah. But I have a story about Penny Lane, even though I don't have a story really about Abbey Road.
Okay.
So in October of 2013, I was in Hawaii. I went into meditation. I still didn't know that John was a part of this thing. I got the publishing deal. The book was almost finished.
Okay.
Okay. And I went into meditation because I felt like I deserved to have some answers. You know, I've been it's taken a big part of my life writing down all these stories and telling them to everybody.
Well, look at the fun you're having.
I mean, I have had fun with it. There's no doubt about it. But I felt like I deserve some answers. I deserve to know what this is all
Yeah,
about.
this is all weird stuff. I don't believe in it. It's all coming in my life. What's going on? So,
And why
did
would
you get
George?
some answers in
Why would
Hawaii?
George choose me? You know, there's a lot of other Beatles fans. There's a lot of Beatles fans out there. I wasn't a Beatles fan, but there's a lot of people who loved George for his music and everything
A
he
lot
did in
of
his
people,
life.
yeah.
That, well, you would think they'd be online ahead of me, even though I wasn't even knowing I was even on this line. You know, because I was
Yeah.
just doing my own thing.
You're
you
doing
know?
your own thing. So was there an answer to that question?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I went into meditation, and I had this experience that there's nothing I've ever experienced in my life that was 10% of what I experienced in that.
What's that? So can you give us some inkling of what that was? Is it something you can say in words?
Well, I could try to put it into words. I felt like I was this big,
Okay.
and I felt like he was this mountain of spiritual energy and strength.
He being George Harrison?
Yeah. Yeah. The love, I mean, I don't even know what I could compare it to. The love made me feel this small. And, you know, it was if you could just take the word goodness, right? Just think about that word, goodness, for a second, right?
Goodness.
Now multiply that by 1 billion.
Billion goodnesses. Wow, I can't even imagine that.
That feeling of goodness, you know. That's what his energy was like.
Wow.
It was so incredible.
Wow.
It was, and so during this experience, I'm trying to be like logical a little bit, even though my mind is being blown, but it's incredibly powerful and beautiful, and oh my God, I mean, I've waited my whole life to experience something like that, you know?
right.
Because I've been meditating at that point for 30 years. And so I had different ideas of, well, if you really want this to get out in the world, you know, maybe you should connect me with your son, and maybe we should play music together. His son Danny's a singer and a guitar player.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
very talented guy, and He said, "Just relax. We've taken care of everything." And I could hear his voice for the first time, and I could see a shape, but I couldn't see him clear like I could see you, but I could tell. But it was like huge and big and beautiful beyond belief.
Wow.
And he kept saying, "Just relax. The hard part is over. We've taken care of everything."
Wow. And what did that mean?
Well, I didn't know what that meant. And then after a couple of times when he said this to me, I said, "Who's this we?" And then John Lennon joined this conversation.
Wow. John Lennon.
And this is my first time having an experience like this, And so I didn't know what to think. I didn't know if this was my imagination. I didn't. What do you do? I mean,
Yeah.
and so I said, "John, are you a part of this?" And he said, "I'm not making any long-term commitments, but yes, I'm a part of it." Now, this was before I understood John's sense of humor, because he's really a funny guy, And when he has so much wisdom, but when he wants to be funny, I mean, he has more play on words things than you've ever heard from anybody, than I've ever heard from anybody in my life.
Wow.
And so this experience went on. It was incredibly powerful. My publisher took the part with John out of this book at the end because he didn't think it was. I understand why. He just didn't think people would be able to believe that, because he didn't want to have that be the thing that made people disbelieve the whole rest of the story,
Okay.
which is understandable.
And that's
He was a
probably
famous
another-
publisher.
Uh-huh.
It made sense for him to do it
Right.
like that.
And it's probably another book in itself.
And that's where the audiobook comes in that I just finished. But before I get to the audiobook, I want to say that 2 weeks later, I got back to the United States. A crazy thing happened. No, all of these stories are in the audiobook that I just finished that's called My Experiences with Lennon and Harrison.
Wow.
George said John's name should be first because John's name was not on the first book. For real.
Wow.
And because, he wanted it to be as fair as it could be,
Yeah, yeah.
And so 2 weeks later, I went to an art festival. This woman came to my booth. A crazy situation started. I can't tell you all the details because we're running out of time.
Yeah, we're running out of time. We got
But
a lot of stuff we need to talk about, but we haven't got time, so.
This woman told me she was a channeler and she'd done it for 40 years and she trained 100 people. I said, "Can I arrange a channeling session with you? Because now I'm willing to talk to a channeler. Where before this, the
Right.
3 years before, you couldn't pay me to sit next to a channeler because I didn't believe in it,
Right, right. So things have changed
Right.
a lot. So your whole life has turned around in different directions.
And everything that John told me
Mm-hmm.
and George told me in Hawaii in that experience, this woman who didn't know me, she knew nothing about me. She told me every single thing they told me in my own experience in Hawaii.
Right, so she kind of confirmed that she was a channeler, that she
She-
was a psychic.
Yeah, it confirmed that she knew what she was talking about.
Right.
How would she know what I
So
experienced?
what did you get out of her channeling? Did she tell you something that you didn't know? That will be
Oh
happening?
yeah. Well, all of this stuff is in the audiobook.
Okay.
Um,
And can we
but
find that online?
they
That's on your website?
yeah, it's on my website, davidyoungmusic.com.
davidyoungmusic.com.
And this book right now, as of, what is today's date?
November 13th.
November 13th. This is available on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and my
Okay.
website.
Great.
The audiobook, by the time we get to December, mid-December, the audiobook will be online as well.
Right, now
Um,
you've got something up there, is that?
Yeah, this is the cover. This is actually the working cover of the book because
The audiobook? Or?
the audiobook.
Okay,
And I'm the one in the middle on the top.
okay. Are these your drawings?
No, we hired a professional
Okay.
artist. And oddly enough, her name is Macca, and that's Paul McCartney's nickname is Macca from McCartney.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's a crazy coincidence. But this is not exactly the way the audiobook is going to look because the top, the red part where it says the audiobook, that's going to be a different color. This is just a working copy. But there's one last thing that I want to show you. I want to make sure we can talk about this.
Yeah,
So
yeah, okay.
couple of months later, I met my girlfriend, who's now my fiance, and her name is Dawn. And she was at a meditation event, like the meditation events I'm going to be doing tomorrow night.
Yes, tomorrow night at Bindy's.
At Bindy's place, which is called the Illuminations of Gaia.
Right, in Townsend, Mass.
In Townsend. And then on Monday, I'm going to be the other place.
Circles of Wisdom?
No, Soul Dancer.
Oh, yeah.
Soul Wind Dancer. Oh, there it is. So that's for Friday night. And if you just scroll down a little bit further.
Wind Soul Studio.
Yeah, the Wind Soul Studio.
In Middlesex Road, Tingsboro, Mass.
Tingsboro, Mass. Yeah, that's going to be Monday night. And I'll be doing these meditation events. And at these meditation events, I play the flute for a half hour.
Wow.
And it spaces people out. They have
Yeah.
incredible experiences, you know.
Wow.
And then we discuss people's experiences. And I've had some times where 5 people in the room will go to the same place in the inner worlds, in heaven, and describe the same exact place that they've gone to.
Wow, isn't that cool? So I'm going tomorrow night to Bindy's. I can't wait. So
Be
that's
wonderful.
Bindy's is at Illuminations of Gaia is 18 Main Street in Townsend, Mass. And she's got a really beautiful studio there. I can't wait. And that's at 6:30 to 8:30 tomorrow night.
So Dawn
Can't wait.
came to one of these meditation events.
Okay.
Okay.
And that's how you met her?
Well, she came to a Channeling George Harrison event, and
Okay.
then 2 months later, I did a meditation event at her New Age church.
I see.
Okay. And while she was meditating, she saw this pair of almond-shaped eyes in her inner vision.
Wow.
And because she's new to meditation, she made it go away, and then they came back a second time. She made it go away, and it came back a third time.
Wow.
So she told me about this experience. The very next day, we drove up to New Jersey to Winston Towers to visit my mom.
Okay.
And Dawn had been to my mom's place at least 3 times.
Okay.
So I got this very strong feeling the next morning while she was having coffee with my mom in the kitchen. I got this strong feeling to bring out that painting I did of John Lennon with the Imagine on the top. I bring it over to her. I said, I don't know why, but I have to show you this. And she says, oh my God, those are the eyes that came into my meditation those 3 times.
Oh.
So I talked, there's a channeler that George and John used to contact me a year ago, right around the time of my big experience. And I talk to him every day. His name is Robert Murray. If you want to look him up online.
Robert Murray?
Robert Murray, yep.
Okay.
And so I said, Bob, I'd like to talk to George and John. And so Bob channels George and John
Oh, wow. So you're doing this regularly now?
every day.
Every day?
Every day.
Wow.
So Dawn said,
Every day he's talking to George and John. Oh my gosh! So you found the right guy to pull them all in for you. So yeah, we're down to
Yeah.
our last minute. So
and so
wow.
Dawn said, Bob, what was all this experience with John's eyes coming into my meditation? And John said, that was my way of welcoming you to our family.
Oh my God. To the family. You're part of the family now.
And then 2 weeks later, she and I went to the beach in Delaware, near where she lives, and we went to a place called Penny Lane. It's a tourist place. Okay, so
Penny
John,
Lane.
you want to get that the picture of those 4 images that we just had before?
Sure.
Okay, and while we're under this picture of Penny Lane, we're trying to take a selfie, but
Okay.
because the sign of Penny Lane was real high above us, we couldn't get it right. And this guy walking by said, "Let me take that picture."
Ah,
So we give the guy the camera. He takes the picture.
okay.
And it may be a little difficult to see. I don't know if there's a way to zoom in at all.
Oh, is that the one with the American flags in it?
Yeah, the 2 American flags are there. There's the Penny Lane sign on top of it. It may be difficult to see right now, but I'm wearing glasses in this picture.
Okay.
They're John Lennon's glasses, and I don't own any glasses like that.
Oh my.
So,
Can't really see them. I
yeah,
can't,
it's
but-
difficult to see just because it's not zoomed in
So
enough.
John Lennon put his glasses on you for this picture,
Yeah, and I don't have.
and you don't own those.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh, this is amazing! Thank you so much for coming and telling us this, David.
my pleasure.
This is just so much fun. I want to have you come back next time you're in town.
Let's do it.
Yeah, because this is can't get enough of this. We never got you to play
Let me
the.
try this thing. You. Hey, now I got some real
Hey,
talent here.
It's nice to have instruments that aren't fragile, you know.
Yeah, they-
Those are easy. So thank you for joining us, John Lennon, David Young Music. You can go there to connect in, get any music or books or see what's up, where you're going to be. And as we said, tomorrow night you're going to be at Illuminations of Gaia in Townsend, Mass. And
At the
It's
expo
going
on
to be at
Saturday,
the
Sunday.
Natural Living Expo on the 15th and 16th, which is in Marlborough, Mass. It's at the Royal Plaza Trade Center, which is the big thing in Marlborough if you ever go to things. So thank you for being with us. Until next time, remember, your heart knows the way.
Dingo.